Welcome to another episode of Your Friend and My Friend. Today we'll be talking about Altronix's 6062. Here it is. Gaze upon it with wonder. This small little fella right here is very powerful, very cool, very BA timer relay. I like to break them up into three parts: trigger, power, and relay. And in order to properly explain this relay, we need the help of our friends the gnomes. We'll call the first guy trigger, my trigger, my trigger. Second guy is going to be power, and third guy is going to be relay. Let's first start with power. Look into his cold, dark eyes. It's like he's only concerned about one thing: 12 or 24 volts DC. Use dip switch 3 to select either one of the voltages. As long as we have 12 or 24 volts supplied to this relay, it's going to work the way it's supposed to. The next gnome we're going to look at is Trigger. He's got this very special relationship with Relay. Trigger might look like a normal gnome, but I assure you that he's not. He's like the sleeper cell of gnomes, just sitting, waiting. He's very reactionary. In fact, every time his fingers touch voltage, he's Superfly TNT. He's the guns of the Navarone. Goes down a little something like this. Every time Trigger gets hit with DC, he says, "Hey, Relay!" Relay's a pretty hip cat, and he's just all like, "What's up? Time to switch, fool!" Every once in a while, Relay will have a smart mouth on him, and he'll be like, "Hakuna Yatatas." Now, the length of time that Trigger is yelling at Relay depends on this little dial right here. Now, he can be set for seconds or minutes depending upon dip switch number 2. And just to clarify, let's say we have Trigger set for 10 seconds. Once voltage touches Trigger and he yells at Relay, Relay is going to be changed for that 10-second duration. And then at the end of that 10-second duration, he'll switch back. In order to better understand Relay, it's best to think of him as a light switch. He's either on or off. Another way to say this is normally open or normally closed. Let's examine a scenario where he's normally closed. This is what it would look like if he were normally closed. We'd have power coming into the common, going through the closed switch, and feeding a device downstream. As soon as Trigger gets touched with voltage, he yells at Relay. Relay then switches, and this is what it would look like. Voltage is still waiting at the common, it's just not going anywhere. And then after the set time period has elapsed, Relay goes back to the way he was. So now it's time to get real with some real world scenarios. Let's add a power supply, let's add a mag lock, let's add a request to exit button, and let's wire them up. We've got power going to our power gnome, we've got power going to our relay gnome, and we've also got power sitting at our request to exit button. As soon as someone pushes the request to exit button, Trigger gnome is notified and he yells at relay gnome. Relay gnome changes state and we lose power to our mag lock. We will stay like this until the specified time has expired, and then we'll switch back. For those of you that have wired one of these up before, you'll notice that the wiring is incomplete in this diagram. I did that just to keep this diagram as simple as possible. There are many different ways to wire up the 6062. It's very versatile, it's very pimpy, it's very powerful. I highly recommend reading the cut sheet and checking out all the different things the 6062 is capable of doing. There are a lot of different ways to wire this thing up, and that's what makes it so powerful.